Good evening. This meeting is now called to. Let the record reflect that a quorum is present, that the meeting has been duly called. Notice of the meeting has been duly posted for a timely manner as required by law. At this time, the board will now retire into closed session in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act and Government Code 551.071 through 551.084. We anticipate returning to open session between 7 and 7:15. Good evening. My name is Julie McLaughlin. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, we welcome our community to our August 2026 board meeting. The time is now 7:30 p.m., and the board is returning to open session. Under the Texas Open Meetings Act, the board may consult with its attorney and/or deliberate in closed session on specific items as permitted by law, but any action by the board must be in open session. Tonight, the board has action to consider related to a matter discussed in closed session, and so we will proceed to agenda item number 4A. This relates to the district's relationship with Balfour Beatty Construction. I move that the board terminate the district's contract or contracts with Balfour Beatty, and related to this, withdraw the board's January 20th, 2026 delegation to negotiate, finalize, and execute an agreement between the district and Balfour Beatty Construction for the multiple projects program, as this delegation is no longer necessary. Further, that the board authorize the superintendent to negotiate with the next best contractor responsive to RFP number 25-004, CMAR services for the 2025 multiple projects program, and to bring the board a recommendation at a future meeting for further action.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye and raise hands.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
Abstain.
One abstention. Motion carries. Agenda item number 5 is our opening exercise and pledges. The board welcomes Mr. Wheeler, principal of Lovejoy High School.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Cabinet, and community members, Superintendent Cordell. So I have with me 2 students here from Lovejoy High School. They are both members of our band program. More specifically, they're our drum majors, and right now they have practice, so they're missing that 104-degree heat or whatever it is right now. But I'm also going to keep introduction short so they can get to practice. So I have with me Anika Karwar and William Sweer. Anika is an 11th grade horn player, and William is an 11th grade trumpet player. So I'm going to turn it over to them.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now for the Texas Pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. And now for a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you again for coming. Appreciate y'all. Agenda item number 6 is recognition. So we always begin our meetings by recognizing key celebrations for our district. I will hand it over to Ms. Cordell.
Absolutely. We are very excited to welcome a new team member. We have Miss Caitlin Madison, who is our Senior Director of Communications and Public Relations. Miss Madison is joining Lovejoy ISD from IL, Texas, and so she comes with a wealth of communications, public relations, and marketing experience. Miss Madison has already hit the ground running and is already making a tremendous impact. We are loving her ideas, her energy, and her commitment to being a leopard. So welcome to the team, Miss Madison.
All right, agenda item number 7 is public comments. Ms. Taylor, do we have any public comments?
No, ma'am.
Oh, thank you. With no public comments submitted, we will proceed with our agenda. Mr. Bobo, could I please ask you to lead our invocation?
Dear God, thank you so much for this time that we have together to consider the business of the district. Be with us as we deliberate and discuss the important decisions that are going to get our district started for the year. Be with all the students and teachers as we begin the new year so that we get off to a good start and that we have a really good year, and just be mindful that we're going to be strong in our learning and strong in our goals to be good citizens in the state of Texas. We are grateful for all of the staff, and we thank you so much for that. In Jesus' name, amen.
Agenda item number 9, notifications. Board, your material for the meeting tonight contain notifications of new hires, resignations, public information requests, and our monthly cabinet reports. Are there any questions? Agenda item number 10 is our consent agenda. Our meeting materials for tonight contain consent agenda items, including prior meeting minutes, our monthly finance report, and routine vendor agreements. A few items of call out is the consent items include a number of minor board policy updates. These were previously reviewed at our July meeting. I'd like to make a note that on one of the policies, CDC, that it's the recommendation that that be pulled and not considered tonight. There is a minor revision to our student calendar that will clarify that September 11th, or Leopard Friday, will be an early release date for the high school. The consent items also include our annual board planning items that we've been working on together throughout the summer, including our district and board priorities, our board activity calendar, and our board operating procedures. Are there any questions on these items, or is there an item that a trustee would like pulled for separate consideration?
Motion to approve the consent agenda, except for the item you already pulled.
Okay, motion on the table.
Second.
Motion on the table is to approve all consent agenda items as presented with the exception of board policy CDC local. And I have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? All those in favor, please say aye and raise hands.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Agenda item 11, we have a celebration of learning presentation, spotlight some of the teaching and learning happening on our Lovejoy campuses. Tonight, we will focus on instructional technology. Dr. Burnett.
Good afternoon, board, trustees, Superintendent Cordell. Be a little gentle on me. This is my first time presenting in front of y'all. But I do have the privilege of talking to you today about our celebration of learning for this month. Tonight, what I wanted to do is something a little different. We're going to highlight some of the incredible investment that our community has made into our classrooms through instructional technology in the 2025 bond, while also sharing a little bit about our intentional use of technology in the classroom and kind of how we think about the best practice when we talk about instructional technology within classrooms. So before we kind of jump into the technology side of things, I think it's always important for us to ground ourselves in instruction and what we kind of believe with instruction. The first and foremost thing is explicit, high-quality instruction comes from our teachers and not a device. We believe students should be reading, they should be writing, they should be talking, they should be communicating, they should be involved in meaningful discussions, collaborating with other peers, and more importantly is also putting their hands on things to learn, to contextualize, and to have real-world applications. All these things do not get put aside when we talk about instructional technology. Instead, we take what's called a thoughtful use of technology approach, which has 3 guiding principles. Principle 1 is called crowding out, or it's a way of thinking about technology should not replace the things that we know that students need. We know they need strong relationships with their teachers. We know they need to move, have conversations, hands-on experiences, and interact with deep thinking. Principle number 2 is not all content is created equal. There is such things as passive content and then engaged content or active content. And so a lot of times when we think about instruction in our classroom, we're aiming for that active level of content where students are engaged in thinking, talking, making their thinking visible, collaborating, and sharing what they're learning. And finally, our third principle is what we call co-viewing or interactions with peers and teachers. Technology is not a tool that should isolate students, especially younger. It should actually be a tool to use to bring collaboration and practice together with teachers and the students within that classroom. So as we think about those guiding principles, we wanted to kind of share a couple stories with you today. The first being is the interactive displays that were updated and included at the high school this year. And the best way I think sometimes to tell a story is to show you a story. And what you have here on this slide is an AP Physics classroom at the high school last week. The teacher is plotting data points that the students measured on a activity the day before. And what you can't see here is the students are using paper and pencil or traditional kind of learning methods to plot the data points as the teacher's doing the same thing. What is also really cool about this is the students have their devices out where they're using that to engage in resources that the teacher has provided to help them access the content while they're going through this lesson. And so what you're looking at is 3 modes of instruction there. You're looking at a teacher who's modeling what the students should be doing. Students are hands-on doing it themselves, and they're using devices to access content and curriculum so that they get the support they need in the moment. The big thing here is even with these great interactive displays, they're not replacing our teachers. What they're doing is enhancing our teaching strategies and allowing students to access content in different ways. Our second update is the update to our secondary student devices. And we wanted to point out 3 things that I think are very powerful tools for our student learning. First is what we call accessibility features. Our students now have access, they've had in the past, but it's enhanced access to things like text-to-speech or speech-to-text or language supports. This allows students to get the support they need in the moment they need so that when they're engaging with text or they're engaging with content, they have those linguistic supports at their hand to help them in the conversations, to help them in the productions of the output that students or teachers are requiring. Second is we have enhanced ability for creating and presentations of our students. Making their thinking visible is what we like to talk about a lot. So these devices help our students do that in many modes. It's not just a piece of paper, but presentations, it can be videos, it can be slideshows, whatever the student may think is the best way to show what they have learned and what they're thinking. And third, as a previous teacher, what I'm real excited about is we also have the ability to give students instantaneous feedback now. So teachers can engage with students in the creation process, provide guidance on what's going right, where some misconceptions are. At your higher levels, you will also see this in peer-to-peer feedback. So peers are giving each other feedback as they're working through whether it's a lab report or a research paper. When we think about these devices, though, I think it's very important for us to kind of keep in mind learning is bigger than a device itself. Devices do not replace the teacher. They do not replace the learning strategies that we know that have high impact for our kids. It's about getting kids to learn the best that they can. And so in our classrooms, you're still going to see students writing with a paper and pencil. You're still going to see them reading with hard books. You're going to see them having math manipulatives in their hands. You're going to see them collaborating and doing labs hands-on. Matter of fact, in our younger grades where we're not one-to-one, you're going to see this more than devices being used. And so when we think about the devices themselves or instructional technology, it's about enhancing the learning. Our guiding principle is pretty simple. We want students to learn with technology, not from technology. We want students to learn from teachers and from their peers. So when we think about this, technology should be an added value to the classroom, not a replacement in that classroom. And so that was the fast of it all. I think I went pretty quick there, so I will stop and see if you have any questions.
A plus on your first presentation.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to write that down and put that in my office. Thank you.
I'll tell you, I really appreciated how you went through examples of secondary and elementary, and you were very intentional about saying that thoughtful use is different at those different levels. And I think this is the beginning of this conversation because we know it's going to be a topic in the legislative session. We know that our assessment model is going to be changing with the changes that came in the last legislative session. So I'm very excited to see as you continue to develop that plan for us, what it looks like. So thank you.
I am too. I'm very excited. Thank you.
Thank you again.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate that. All right, we'll move on to the main part of our agenda tonight. Agenda item number 12 is public testimony regarding the required annual approval of certification of compliance with Texas Education Code sections 11.005 and 28.002. Ms. Taylor, were there any public comments submitted? All right, thank you. There were none submitted. We will move on to agenda item number 13, which is for the board to consider and act on the required annual approval of certification of compliance with the Texas Education Code, sections 11.005 and 28.002. These are the requirements that were implemented by Senate Bill 12 during the most recent legislative session. Ms. Cordell, anything to add?
I do not. Everything's provided in the board book for you as required by law. We are providing an opportunity both for public testimony and then for board review and consideration of action on our annual certification of compliance with the Texas Education Code sections 11.005 and 28.0022.
Any questions? All right. Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the annual certification of compliance with the Texas Education Code sections 11.005, 28.0022, SB 12.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Motion is carried. All right, thank you. Agenda item number 14 will be an enrollment update. So trustees, as you are aware, this is a recurring update that the board receives near to the start of each school year. Our student enrollment is a critical metric for us as a school district as it directly impacts our planning and our budgeting. So Ms. Cox.
Yes, good evening, board. Good evening, Madam President. Superintendent Cordell, we are giving an enrollment update today. This directly aligns with our strategic plan, target 4.2 and 5.3. So I think this first slide is mainly for me, being new with enrollment. So just to make sure we're all on the same page with terminology. First, we'll be talking about our total student count, which is our LCDC program all the way through 12 plus, because we also have our transition students that are beyond 12th grade. And this includes fee-based students and state funded. So our 2 and 3-year-old and our tuition-based students. Enrollment is our qualifying LCDC students through 12 plus population. So these are the students eligible for state funding. ADA, our average daily attendance, is the average, it's a percentage attendance for the year used in the funding formula. And then our budget enrollment, which is not a snapshot in time, but it's an average of enrollment throughout the year. Okay, so first, we have here just our average daily attendance. You can see where we ended last year for 25-26, and then where we are starting off this year, 26-27. And here we've put them side by side. So again, we have the student count, which is all of our students together, and then our enrollment, where we get the funding, which is at 3,763, and then our what we budgeted for. So our district level snapshot, our last day of school last year, we ended at 3,775.5. Our current enrollment for this school year right now is 3,763. We projected, our budget was for 3,729, which is great because we are a positive for 34 students. So looking at average class size, we looked at the classes that are core classes or leopard time, those areas where all students take those classes. We do have higher numbers in things like GT classes or fine arts, but when you look at our core classes, the average class size is 24.7 at the high school.
It's amazing how consistent it is from 9th grade to 12th grade now.
Right? It is. Every now and then. Works like that. Willow, we're at 25.9. Average class size, 674 students. At Sloan Creek, we're at 24.3 class size with 558 students. At Hart Elementary, you can see the average class size for the different grade levels. We currently are looking really good. We don't have to apply for any waivers at Hart right now. Last year at this time, we did apply for one waiver at Hart in 4th grade, being over the 22 limit. At Puster, right now, we will apply for the one waiver in 3rd grade where we are at 23. Luckily, we actually have a teacher resident in that classroom, so we are really happy that that worked out to give us some more hands there. But again, last year at Puster, this time we were applying for 2 waivers in 3rd grade, so we're looking a little better than last year. And at LCDC, we have our total student count and then the ones that are our enrollment that we get state funding for, which is an ADA of 9. And this is just a reminder that we will send in a waiver for class size exemptions as needed when we are over the 22-to-1 for pre-K through 4th grade. Right now, that is just one classroom.
I think you just showed us a nice
Any
snapshot of the complexity of some of your reporting that you have. Any
I need
questions,
that
trustees?
terminology sheet.
So the ADA on being 9 on LCDC is because we're funded half,
Yes.
correct?
Yes. So
And
we
on
get
top of that,
question a lot.
attendance, or is it just straight half?
So just straight half, I believe. So we get, 8 point.
We get a straight half, for half day.
No. I was asked that a few times, like, how do we have half a student? What's the 0.5? It's because they go half a day. Good question. Any other questions?
Just congratulations. I pulled last year's enrollment report and saw that those waivers went down. So
Yes. Excited
I
about
know that takes a lot of work and it's very intentional. So thank you for that. I know we had to add a section of 2nd grade at both Hart and Puster. Do we have any functional capacity concerns at this time, or we have plenty of space?
We have plenty of space.
Okay.
We're
And
feeling
then
good.
my other question is just kind of where we ended up with scholar enrollment. I know that's usually
Yes.
part of the budget.
Yes,
But, yeah.
absolutely. So we have been verifying that information still. So right now, we are approximately sitting at 477 scholars. And we had, and the reason for that, we had several factors. We had some that applied as scholars and didn't show up, probably because they'd applied multiple places, and tried to figure that out. We also had, I can think of at least 5 right now, students that were scholars, but then their parents became employees. So now we moved them over to the employee kids side. And then we also have been verifying residency for a lot of those students. That's why I say approximately, because we are still going through, and a lot of people have now moved into the district, so we're taking them off of the scholar list.
We do notice a pattern of that annually where we have people apply to be a scholar.
Yes.
And then they decide to be all in and purchase a home in Lovejoy, and then we've got to switch their category. But we're glad they're here with us.
Good question. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, agenda item 15 will be to consider an act on the interest and sinking tax rate that exceeds the minimum rate. Mr. Wiltman.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Cordell. So tonight I'm going to just go over and review the 2026 tax rate adoption. So to get us started, I want to go over just a few terms that that we have reviewed in previous presentations, but also terms that you will find on the form that was generated and produced by the Colin CAD, which is the Form 5859. So the proposed tax rate is what was proposed during the budget adoption for the 2026-2027 budget. In there, in the proposed tax rate, we maintain the same level of tax rate that was for the 2025 tax year, which was the MCR plus the INS tax rate plus the enrichment pennies. The adopted rate will be what the board will be considering this evening for adoption for the 2026 year. And then we have the no new revenue rate. So this is the tax rate that would produce the same amount of taxes if applied to the same properties taxed in both years. So you'll notice on the Form 5859, it does reflect on line 26 the no new revenue tax rate on that form. The different components that make up the tax rate, first we have the MCR, the maximum compressed tax rate. This is a tax rate that is generated by a TEA that's pushed through a formula based off of property value growth. We did see that in the year over year, there was a growth, property value growth that resulted in a compressed rate. You may recall that in the 2025 tax year that we did not have enough growth because of the increase in the homestead exemption where it maintained the same rate. But this year we did receive a compressed rate. And the enrichment penny is the excess tax effort not to exceed 17 cents. That's made up of two different components, the golden pennies and the copper pennies. So the first 8 pennies are the golden pennies, and this is not subject to recapture. But the remaining 9 are copper pennies, and they are voter approved. And those are subject to recapture. Currently, we're using 13.83 cents of the 17 cents of enrichment pennies. And then the debt rate is the INS tax rate, and that's the rate at which to cover the district's debt obligations. So the overall process, as you know, is that in June, we brought forward the budget for adoption, and then that we included the proposed tax rate, which was equal to the 2025 tax year rate. We met all the posting requirements and held the public hearing for that budget adoption. And then at the end of July, Colin CAD certified the property values, which we then submitted to TEA, and then they generated and released the preliminary MCRs, which we'll be presenting on this evening. There has been a change in the overall process, specifically to the INS tax rate. So effective January 1st of 2026, Senate Bill 1453 was introduced that changed the overall process. So the biggest distinction that exists now is that the board will be taking 2 actions if they so choose. So we have provided in the board book the calculation of what is the minimum tax rate. So that minimum tax rate is calculated based off of our existing debt obligations and tied back into our certified taxable values that creates that minimum tax rate. So if the board chooses to adopt and maintain the current 50-cent rate, a 60% supermajority vote, or at least 5 board members would be needed in order to approve that INS tax rate to 50 cents, which exceeds the minimum tax rate. So as I mentioned, the minimum tax rate is essentially taking our existing debt obligation and the current taxable value, and what that is generating for the minimum INS tax rate per $100 taxable value is a 0.451911. And again, I've already mentioned how that is calculated. So in order to move forward, if you so choose to go up to the 50-cent tax rate, it would require a 60% supermajority board vote. So before moving on, it does require specific motion language, which is in the executive summary for this agenda item. So I'm going to pause there and answer any questions that the board may have.
Questions?
I move that a proposed rate to pay debt service of 50 cents per $100 of taxable value be approved. This rate exceeds the district's debt service rate determined under the TEC Section 44.004C5A IIB of 0.451911 by 0.048089. The excess revenue collected from the proposed rate will be used for the defeasance and/or redemption of outstanding unlimited tax bonds.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? All those in favor, please say aye and raise hands.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thomas, how much have we saved over the last several years by paying down debt early?
We've saved since 2021. We've had 3 instances where we paid down debt early, and we've saved roughly $6.9 million in interest costs. Great question.
All right, so that was just part one of this enjoyable action. So agenda item number 16 is to consider an act on the 2026 combined tax rate. Mr. Bowman?
Okay. So you can see here now that the board has approved the interest and sinking rate at the 0.5. The maintenance and operation has gone down to 0.7373, which is a total tax rate of 1.2373, which is down from the 1.2552. We can see here just kind of a historical tax rate. This is the lowest that it's been in 26 years. We had that small 24-25 where it's been the same, but for the most part since the incorporation of the maximum compressed rate in 2019, there's been a steady decrease in the tax rate due to compression. So being that the tax rate is below the no new revenue tax rate, there is no required motion language. So the administration recommends that the Board of Trustees adopt the tax rate and execute the ordinance setting the tax rate for tax year 2026 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? We will proceed to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye and raise hands.
Aye.
Motion carries. Agenda item number 17 will be to consider and adopt a resolution directing defeasance and/or redemption of certain Lovejoy Independent School District's outstanding unlimited tax bonds on one or more occasions, appointing an authorized officer and delegating to the authorized officer the authority to make all determinations required to effectuate such defeasance and/or redemption, and enacting other provisions related to the subject. So board, as a reminder, we did discuss the background and details on this item at our May 4th board workshop when Mr. Witt gave us a detailed update on our bond program. Mr. Wolman.
Good evening again. So this is the next step to comply with the new legislation. The board just passed the increase to the 0.5 with the intended purpose to defease and/or redeem the debt. So this is just the next step in the process to go ahead and adopt a resolution. With that being said, as Mr. Wheelis shared, this has been a strategy that the district has taken when using excess tax collection on the INS side, is to pay down debt to reduce interest costs going forward. So as mentioned before, the district since 2021 has saved $6.9 million by taking this approach. So the administration recommends that the Board of Trustees adopt the order calling bonds for redemption as presented.
Additional conversation? All right, if not, please note your recommended motion language.
I move approval of the resolution directing the defeasance and/or redemption of certain of Lovejoy Independent School District's outstanding unlimited tax bonds on one or more occasions, appointing an authorized officer and delegating to the authorized officer the authority to make all determinations required to effectuate such defeasance and/or redemption, and enacting other provisions relating to the subject.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any additional discussion? All those in favor, please say aye and raise hands.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Agenda item number 18 will be to consider an act on the Bond Implementation Committee Charter. Mr. Percival.
Good evening. During the July board meeting, we provided a brief board bond update, and as part of that bond update, we spoke briefly about the Bond Implementation Committee that met this past year. We would like your consideration and approval to authorize the charter to develop that same Bond Implementation Committee for current school year, where we would meet 4 times throughout the year, talk about upcoming projects, current projects, and getting feedback from the committee. You've got a copy of that charter there in your board book, and I'm happy to answer any questions you guys may have about the charter or the pending committee.
I'm pleased for us to continue this process. I thought it was really valuable to have the members of the bond committee stay with us through the execution and usage of those dollars, and so that they can see the resolution of their work and continue to provide that feedback along the way.
This is consistent with our board operating procedures for setting up citizen committees, right?
It is. That is correct. And so what we would do, board, is potentially rotate through these committee meetings like we did in prior years so that we can continue to stay connected to the committee. No other questions? We could take a motion.
I move that we adopt the charter to create the Bond Implementation Committee.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any additional discussion? All those in favor, please say aye and raise hands.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Board, our remaining agenda items this evening relate to our organizational items or annual board duties. Agenda item number 19 is to consider an act on the 26-27 superintendent goals. So the board and Ms. Cordell began our formal goal-setting discussions for this school year on June 1st, and we continued that work together throughout the summer. And so while our conversations on district priorities and our progress are numerous and they continue throughout the year, our annual goal-setting process that we do over the summer months provides dedicated time for us to work together to translate our broader long-term priorities for the district into specific measurable goals for a given school year. So Ms. Cordell, I will turn it over to you to walk us through the proposed goal.
Thank you, Madam President and Board, and I greatly appreciate the time and energy that's gone into this process since June. So our goals are designed to focus on our areas of priority in the district. So the first superintendent goal focuses on safety. You'll notice for each goal, there is a goal, a measure of success, and key performance indicators that are outlined. I will not read each to you, but lift up for you and our community some of the focus areas. So in safety, our focus is on implementation of a crisis communication platform tool that we know will increase and enhance our communication in issues of safety and security. So we're excited about how that will continue to enhance our safety and security profile and effectiveness. That includes not only the implementation and configuration, but also the training of staff as well as the testing of that platform. In people, we want to make sure that our staff is valued as our greatest resource in serving our students. So we will strengthen that professional support for growth, recruitment, retention, and leadership pathways. We are focused on doing that through our Teacher Connection Council, and we have noticed in that work with our teachers on the Teacher Connection Council that there are times where we need to have an elementary focus and times where we need to have a secondary focus. And so we are going to do just that, restructure the committee a little bit and make sure our elementary teachers have time together and our secondary teachers have time together so that we are able to focus on level-specific challenges and develop recommendations based on teacher feedback. So we will be establishing those Teacher Connection Council meetings and providing the opportunity for our teachers to address problems of practice and for them to develop actionable recommendations. And then Also looking at employee retention initiatives that are informed by that Teacher Connection Council. So we will be gathering employee feedback, doing state interviews, and then staff surveys, identifying and prioritizing district-wide employee retention opportunities, as well as retention initiatives based on their feedback. As a part of that work, we are also going to be implementing campus staff surveys. We have had district staff surveys. Last year, we did 2. We did 1 each semester to make sure we were getting feedback from our teachers and staff and utilizing that data for our improvement. And we've recognized we need to do that on the campus level as well. So that will be implemented this year. In the area of learning, we want to continue to promote our commitment to academic excellence, doing that through ongoing implementation of the Teacher Incentive Allotment Program. This is our approval year through TEA, and this is our data capture year happening here in 26-27, 27-28. So next school year will be the year where our teachers are eligible to receive TIA compensation. So this is a very important year for us to hit our milestones, both in that application process, but also training campus administrators and teacher appraisers on that process so that we are ready to implement. Also with learning, our ongoing focus on student academic growth, both in reading and math. And we'll be focusing on that by making sure we're reviewing that mid-year through our NWA MAP assessment and our conditional growth index. And then culture of progress. We want to make sure that we are focused on high-quality instructional practices that are forward-facing, developmentally appropriate as well. We had a wonderful preview from Dr. Burnett today on that instructional technology. We're going to be continuing that work by conducting a study of instructional technology use and instructional best practices and bringing that back to y'all. In the form of an instructional technology plan to the Board of Trustees. In the area of finance, making sure we're implementing a process to study and respond to funding challenges and enrollment decline. We've done some very strong work in this area previously. That work has to continue in this funding environment and enrollment environment. And so we've got a plan to do that and make sure that we're monitoring revenue and expenditure trends and informing long-term planning in that area. And then facilities, advancing our 2025 bond program, initiating the design and planning phase for our Hart renovation project, also for transportation and maintenance facility as well.
It's quite the list, but I know we'll get all the way done. Any questions? No? So I just want to thank Katie and her team for their work on this. I think the annual superintendent goals and the board's work on this is one of the most important things that we do. It makes sure that we provide clarity around what we expect to accomplish, and it ensures that the board and the superintendent remain aligned on where we're going and what success looks like. So these items are up for our review and approval tonight. Take a motion.
I move that we approve the superintendent goals as she describes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion?
I just want to reiterate that I think this is a extremely valuable collaborative process, and I know from years past how closely Katie pays attention to them throughout the year and to make sure they're executed on, and it drives our district improvement plans, our campus improvement plans are all going to be aligned to this, and it's a valuable, thoughtful process.
I think some of the other conversation we had was that this is not even the full list, really. I mean, if you think about all of the other things that are going on, I mean, notably the Skyward implementation over the summer that took place, and that was a significant amount of work on the district staff. So, but I do think this gives us, kind of collective marching orders as a district that aligns all the way down, to your point, all the way down through the campuses on all the decisions that we'll make this year. All right, we've had motion, second, we've had discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Raise hands.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, agenda item number 20 is for us to consider and act on the 26-27 board committee and liaison appointments. So on an annual basis, the board goes through an organization process. Each May, we elect our officers to serve for a one-year term. And then following that, our board operating procedures define a set of additional board committees and liaison roles where different board members may serve throughout the year. Today, we will take up 2 of those items. First, we need to select 3 trustees to serve on the board's legislative subcommittee. This committee will play an important role in orienting the board on key priorities and advocacy plans for the upcoming 90th legislative session. And then second, we will select a board liaison to the Leadership Lovejoy program. So 1 or more trustees will represent the board with the 26-27 Leadership Lovejoy class of parents and community members who are going to be learning more about how our district operates and serves students. So I'll open the floor. Let's discuss the legislative subcommittee first. So any volunteers or nominations?
I would be happy to volunteer to participate and lead the legislative subcommittee.
Not everybody at once. We're
Second,
gonna have to
Jason.
arrange.
I second Jason.
I'll throw my name in the hat too, to volunteer. If I have to.
I think that's great. It's a great way to learn.
Excited about that opportunity.
I would also be happy to help with the legislative subcommittee.
And there we go. We have 3. That's good to go. Okay. Unless anybody else wants to challenge, we'll move on to Leadership Lovejoy. Are there any other volunteers or nominations for that process?
Having not volunteered for the legislative subcommittee, I would love to volunteer to do Leadership Lovejoy again. I will need probably a backup. I'm not on a couple of dates. I'm not sure yet until some other things happen later this month that I find out about. So, we'll have a backup.
Okay. Who would like to be our backup?
I was happy to be Marvin's backup last year. I can do it again.
All right, board, it seems we have consensus. So it seems like we would Jason, Jessica, and Aubrey to the legislative subcommittee, and Marvin and Aubrey to the Leadership Lovejoy class. Are we good with that? Okay. We do require a vote.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any additional discussion? All those in favor, please say aye and raise hands.
Aye.
Congratulations on your new items. And so, Mr. Janes, as you are this most senior-most member of this committee, could I ask that you please serve as the chair? Wonderful. Okay, and we will have some dedicated agenda time for the committee and liaisons from time to time to update the board on their efforts. All right, agenda item 21 will be a time for the board to discuss our priorities for the legislative engagement. So I looked this up today, we're 141 days away from the next Texas legislative session. The 90th legislative session will begin on Tuesday, January 12th, 2027. Although that seems like a while away, it's really quite soon. The decisions made in Austin have a significant impact on our district. So as a board, we have worked to both engage in the legislative process and to keep our community informed and equipped so that they can advocate as well. In the past, we've been active as a board to develop legislative priorities for the district. We've met with our elected officials. We've made trips to Austin to represent Lovejoy students. And we have attended local legislative events. So as a new effort in this space, we are proposing hosting an event here at Lovejoy ISD to showcase one of our programs and to explain the impact of legislation and funding on that program, and to invite both candidates and elected officials to come and learn about us and hopefully build support for Lovejoy and for fully funding our programs. So Jason, do you want to take us through what that event would look like?
Yes, we're going to put a spotlight on our safety and security school marshal program and talk about why we think that we are an exemplar program to focus on, and what we've done to build it over the years, how our marshals operate, how they're trained, and really just showcase that program to these elected representatives to just show them what it entails, and then also highlight the state funding that goes along with it, and where there might be opportunity to close some of those funding gaps. So we've put together a date to do this. It's going to be a date where students are not going to be on campuses so that our marshals can participate in the event. I believe it's a teacher development day, so it is going to be a business day. But we've already gotten some expressed interest from some of the people we've invited. So I think it's going to be a great opportunity to showcase what we're doing here in our safety and security.
We are very excited about the event and very grateful to our school marshal team and Mr. Percival for everything that they're doing to plan. We're very proud of our school marshal program, our safety and security program, all of the support from the board that has gone into that, our community as well. We think we have really an elite model to show what we're doing here. And we know that in order to have an elite model that aligns with the expectation that our families have for the safety of their children and that we have for the safety of both our students and for our staff, that there is a funding gap there, unfortunately. And so on the legislative talking points that we prepared last spring, you will know that there's a funding gap right now of a little over $600,000 between what we're funded and then what we're expending on our safety and security function. But safety and security remains a top priority, and we look forward to sharing what we're doing with both our elected leaders and our community leaders.
Excited. I think we're have all the marshals. We're going to have the hats, right? We're going to have the drone. Maybe, I don't know if that can fly indoors. Regan, are we having the drone? Okay.
We have indoor drones and outdoor drones.
I can't wait.
Both will be there.
No, I think it's, we talk so highly of our Marshall program. And when we think about some of the legislative efforts that have gone on in Austin, sometimes we are not making always the progress in certain areas of school funding, but we are hopeful that when it comes to the safety and security of our young people that are attending class every day, that can be some common ground that we reach with our elected officials and candidates for those spots. And so I think our intention is to showcase a little bit about what we do and then to really clearly lay out for them the funding that we get versus the cost of the program, and to kind of demonstrate that we would be good stewards of those dollars to support that program at its full level. So.
I think it's awesome.
So we're excited. It's a new way for us to engage with our elected officials. Most of them are in campaign season, and so I'm hopeful that will drive some attendance for the event. And so that will be coming up here, and by the time we come to our next board workshop, we'll be able to kind of do a debrief on how it goes. Any other discussion or thoughts? No? Okay, that sounds good. All right, so we are at the end of our meeting tonight, and we'll have a few announcements. Agenda item 22 is superintendent announcements.
Thank you, Madam President. It has been an outstanding start to the 26-27 school year. That does not mean it's been easy, though. We've had an outstanding start because of all the incredible work and planning of our staff. I have never seen people plan so hard. They had plan A, plan B, and then the backup for the backup, plan C. And day one was absolutely amazing. As a matter of fact, I kept walking around thinking when are we going to have to deploy plan B or C? We never had to, just because of the remarkable job our teachers and staff did, our transportation staff, our custodial team, maintenance operations, our campus leaders, district leaders. It really was remarkable the way everybody came together to give our students a great experience on the first day of school. And one thing that was so noticeable as I visited at every campus was just the sense of purpose and focus and joy that is there. And so we do very precious and important work, and we are very excited about this school year and making sure we provide an outstanding educational experience for our students. And speaking of outstanding experiences, we get to bring the entire community together this Friday for our first Friday Night Lights event in Leopard Stadium. Be sure to hydrate. We will have all sorts of measures in place, safety-wise, in terms of dealing with the heat. It's supposed to cool off a little bit, so that will be helpful. But we love to have our entire community out, and football is absolutely at the center, and that's exciting. But we have so many more students that are involved. Our band's involved, cheerleaders, Majestics, our amazing athletic trainers. So we can't wait to see everybody and to cheer on our Leopards.
Thank you, Ms. Cordell. I would just like to add to your very kind words and just say on behalf of the board, we also want to say thank you for a very, very wonderful start to the 26-27 school year. We know that a smooth start across the entire district, over 3,800 students, hundreds of staff, that doesn't just happen. It takes months of planning and a tremendous amount of work behind the scenes. So I want to say thank you to our administrative team, to our campus principals, our classroom teachers, our bus drivers, our coaches, our student nutrition, our custodial staff, our librarians, our counselors, and I'm sure I've missed some, everyone that worked to ensure our students and families had a great start to the year. I also want to shout out to our Foundation for Lovejoy Schools, our PTO, our booster clubs, our volunteers, and our parents who give so generously of their time and resources to support our students and staff. We're just incredibly fortunate to have a community that shows up for our schools in so many ways. I'd also like to recognize 2 accomplishments. Lovejoy received an A rating from the Texas Education Agency, reflecting the outstanding academic work happening across our district. And we also had an A First rating, which stands for the Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas, recognizing the district's strong financial management. So these achievements also represent both a tremendous work by our staff, and we're very proud of them both. Thank you very much. Also, as part of our agenda tonight, the board adopted its 26-27 board operating procedures. In alignment with our board operating procedures, each trustee will affirm our personal commitment to board policy BBF, which is board member ethics, and our governance norms, which is how we intend to collaborate and interact as a board. I've confirmed with the board secretary that all board members have signed this affirmation for the 26-27 school year. Thank you to all board members for this commitment. And additionally, with their assigned scope of work complete, the board's Special Purpose Committee on Board Operating Procedures that was created on June 1st, 2026 is now considered dissolved. The board will hold its next workshop on September 14th, and then our next board meeting will be on Monday, September 28th. And with that, we are adjourned.